We'll call the meeting to order. This is the Landmarks Commission meeting for Monday, December 10th, 2018. We'll begin with a roll call. Paul Martzke is here. Susan Lai. Lee. Veronica Corpus-Dax.
Here.
Justin Balsey.
Here.
Ron Dane.
Yep.
Ian Griffiths.
Yep.
And David Siegel.
Present.
Okay, the entire committee is here. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We've got an agenda for us for tonight's meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of tonight's agenda, signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 12th, 2018 meeting of the Landmarks Commission. Again, I'd ask for a motion for approval of those minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion on the November 12th, 2018 meeting minutes? Hearing none, I'd ask for a vote on approval of the minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Again, motion carries unanimously. Item D, regular business. Item number 1, consideration with possible action on alteration of fenestration, window installation, and new siding at 838 South Jackson Street. I'd ask for a presentation by staff.
Oh, I could do that. 838 South Jackson Street is the house that you see here. At some point in the recent past, windows have been altered on the side that faces the driveway, which is on the right side here. And so there's 2 first-story windows that are smaller, just, pardon my ship terminology, aft of the rounded portion of the wall. And then on the second story, window's been replaced with a much smaller window. The staff report here recommends that no action be taken regarding the windows on the first story, and that we consider only the work going forward for the window on the second story. Specifically, what sort of siding will fill in the metal sheathing that's below the small window that's now been installed. With that in mind, staff recommends that it be framed out as though there was a full window frame there with some sort of shingled siding within that window frame. But you can do as you please. Staff recommends this. It's for you to discuss and come to your own conclusion. So.
Okay. I'd like to open up the floor for discussion.
Yeah.
Do you have to
do we-
move to
oh,
open
sorry.
it?
Go ahead.
Or can you just open the floor? Or is it
You
just
have
open?
to vote to open it,
Oh,
but
okay.
Ron can ask questions
sorry.
prior to that.
Yeah, motion open for South, second it, yeah. Whatever. So one quick question. So originally, it was the large window? Or that has been cut out below the
So
small
in
window?
the lower right photograph
Yeah.
of the 2 photos, the
Yeah.
window where you see that metal sheathing was identical to the window that's left of it.
To the left of it, okay.
So the,
Okay.
I'll call it a full height window.
Gotcha. Okay. Just wanted to be clear. Yeah, thank you.
Also, the windows in the front were replaced at some point?
At some point, but
Yeah.
those presumably were more recent. It's
Those-
those 2 there
Those
that
two.
Those 2, yeah.
were replaced more recently, but the issue that I've run into in thinking about this is that we revised our preservation ordinance on August 21st. I am going in blind, but assuming that all of these windows were installed prior to August 21st. So, frankly, if you don't like the windows, you would be attempting to enforce a code that is no longer on the books. But, presuming these windows were installed prior to August 21st, we're still left with a situation in the second story where someone needs to make a design call, if you will, as to how best to.
What's done is done, and let's move on.
That's my opinion.
Sounds like a good opinion.
You could attempt to pursue enforcing either the current ordinance or the superseded ordinance, get a little more information, and, worst case scenario, from the homeowner perspective, you could attempt to persuade the homeowner to put the old windows back in. I don't think you'll make many friends doing that.
Yeah. And
The
counter.
homeowner's right here, if you have any.
Yeah.
Is it safe to presume those windows were pretty well rotted?
Yes, the window in question upstairs is a bathroom. It was a full-size window, very inappropriate for a bathroom. A shower was installed up there, the bathroom was remodeled. So we raised the window. I had no knowledge of any of this at the time that that was done, when I put the window in, that this commission even existed. That was in May we did that. I
didn't
didn't get
know
at the
either.
siding, I didn't get at the siding because I needed a bandsaw to make the fancy cut shingles, which I have. I didn't have it there yet because we were moving. I have it now. My proposal is to make the fancy cut shingles and just replace what's there.
Blending into the rest of the shingles
Yes,
on the left and right and below?
to match everything that's there. Same thing.
Shape, color?
Yeah.
I think the proposal we received is to extend the window casing down to the full earlier opening and then fill in that space with shingles. Now, I know we have discussed at one point just trying to match the shingles for shingles in a seamless fashion. I don't know how seamlessly that can be done. If you like that option, by all means, run with it. My feeling on that is that the second stories are characterized by some sort of symmetry of fenestration, and that by putting in window casing where the window had been, you'd at least be acknowledging that symmetry existed. But architecturally, I defer to the architects in the group.
Sir, what do you think about creating a seamless transition from old shingle to what you're filling in? Sounds like you've got a plan.
I think I could do it. I mean, I already researched buying the shingles. I can't buy the fancy cut ends, but I can buy that original shingle in that size, cut the ends myself, paint them ahead of time, and then put them up and match. I mean, obviously, some shingles are cut when that window was installed originally. I would just take that part of that shingle out that was like half a shingle and just make it a full shingle there to match it, like it was never there, like the window was never there. I made 3 proposals, like that gentleman was talking about, one with the frame. And I think one is to paint the shingles blue inside, like the color of the original paint job there, inside the frame, or I can paint them white, whatever people think is best, I guess. Or put the frame in and then paint the shingles white inside.
I think the recommendation to put the framing around it speaks to the fact that there has been a change, and it's more, the ability to document the change in the future is more clear. So from my perspective, I think framing that out and then infilling the center of that with the adjacent matching shingle would architecturally be the most appropriate way to do it.
Sounds reasonable to me.
If I could interject too, I don't think you'll ever get a recommendation from me for paint colors. I don't care about the paint. If it's polka dots, at least it's protected.
Let's not do both of those.
No, but if it's white or blue, I'll
Right.
never voice
Yep.
opinion on that.
Yep. I think, I think it's at the homeowner's discretion, but I think the blue actually would probably work better. If you look at the elevation now, as you look at the windows in the front, you see that the glass actually does reflect a kind of darker color. If you did it white, I think it would stand out more. So I think in order to keep it more like a window, infilling it with a blue painted shingle would probably make more sense.
So you're saying a white frame with a blue?
Yep.
Okay.
To mimic a full-size window. It's not truly glass, a
Correct.
window on the bottom.
Yep.
Right.
Is there any other discussion from the members of the public? Okay. At this point, does anybody want to make a motion on how to proceed with this item?
Motion to close the floor?
Motion to close the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I think you're looking for a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness for whichever option it is. It says to put window casing in plus fill in the space with fancy cut shingles.
And I think that was listed as option number 3.
2 or 3. The difference between the two is the paint color, which
Yeah, 3 is the one where the shades match the existing house. 2 is where they'd be painted out white.
I'd make that recommendation. All option 3.
So-
I'd second.
Okay, any other discussion? I just would add as a part of the discussion that it looks like you've got a very well-maintained and lovely house in the neighborhood, so I do appreciate that. So, hearing no other discussion, we would want to call a vote then, to vote for the current item, which would be option 3, frame out the window with window casing under the new window and fill in the inside with new fancy end-cut shake siding that matches the existing shakes on the house. So at this time, we can vote.
Susan, what will your vote be?
Yay.
Unanimously approved.
Okay. Motion carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda, item D2, consideration with possible action on a new commercial sign at 220 to 222 North Adams Street. Again, ask for a staff report.
This particular building, the 3-story building on the left, was identified as a contributing building within the downtown historic district, which was added to the State Register of Historic Places in February of this year. Since that time, under the previous ordinance, the facade was removed in its entirety and replaced with a new facade. From a preservation perspective, I see no reason to oppose this signage. So staff recommends approval of the COA as requested.
Motion to open the floor for comment.
Second.
Start with members of the public. Is anybody here from the public chop house that wants to discuss this issue?
I'm here for Pat. His wife had a surgery today in Milwaukee. So,
Anything you want to add, Craig, or no?
just that it's a signage and visibility. And it's going to be a much more well-maintained exterior facade, bringing business to the downtown district.
Any other discussion? Okay, I think we need a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor?
Second.
And at this point then, we're looking at a vote on this item.
Make a motion to accept this as recommended.
Second. Oh, sorry, Susan. Okay. Passes with 1 abstain.
Okay. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is item D3, consideration with possible action on new windows and doors at 112, 114 South Broadway. Again, asking for a staff report on this issue.
112, 114 South Broadway is a contributing property in the Broadway Walnut National Register Historic District, built 1883-ish. This building benefited from a very thorough rehabilitation around 2001. At that time, an entirely new storefront window group was installed on the first floor. A big improvement over what had been there, which was, plywood paneling type closed off pub appearance. The current windows that you see in the top left are very similar to the ones you see proposed in the bottom right, so much so that you probably wouldn't really know a difference, except that the new ones are new and metal framed, as opposed to not so new, circa 2001, and wood framed. I did contact the State Historical Society's preservation architect for Northeast Wisconsin, received a little bit of feedback, specifically that to maintain the historic integrity, all the glass should be clear, not low E. Metal window frame should be powder coated or have a baked on finish, specifically not an anodized finish. Exterior doors can't be stained wood, but painted wood is fine. Exterior doors can't have a fake stamped wood grain on them, but smooth doors is fine. Don't paint any brick that hasn't already been painted. I don't see any conflict with what's been proposed in this application for a certificate of appropriateness, so staff has recommended approval of the COA.
Could you elaborate on the explanation about metal window frames coated, baked on, and not aligned, the anodized? Can you
I
elaborate on
can.
exactly what that
A
means?
little bit. The baked-on finish will have the appearance of a painted thing, be it wood or otherwise. The anodized finish will have the appearance of metal window frames. The goal here is that you want to maintain the appearance of a historically appropriate option. And more to the point, the anodized window frames would cause this project to no longer be eligible for tax credits should the property owner choose to pursue that. So we consider the state architect's input as being of a higher value here because his or her opinion is such that what they're recommending would qualify for tax credits should the property owner choose to pursue those. An anodized finish would not. To the average passerby, nobody's really going to notice the difference, but to the architectural connoisseurs that constitute tax credit approval people, it makes a difference. So,
Are those doors, those were also replaced in '01?
that's my belief, yes.
Okay. I've gone in, Jake's and, I wasn't in Metro PCS, but before that, the doors seem big and heavy and old, and I don't know if they were or not. If they were old doors, I would think that preserving those would be more appropriate than replacing them.
Yes, the state usually is pretty lenient with a first floor storefront, and I would say even more so given that most of what we see here, if not nearly all of it, was replaced in 2001. There is some original material, historic fabric, some cast iron columns that break up the windows, but those would be maintained under the current proposal. The property owner is also here too. So, if you wanna-
Jason, can you clarify, so is the new proposal, what type of windows are they proposing to put in?
That's not clear. My suggestion here is that you stipulate baked on finish versus anodized.
Anybody else on the commission have anything you want to talk about at the moment? Do we want to open up the floor for public comment?
Sure. Make a motion to open the floor.
I'll second that.
I understand the property owner is here.
It's me. Hi, I'm Ricky Bosley.
So can you elaborate on your intentions for replacing the windows?
Sure. My concern is to make them more energy efficient, so to have the same look, also following the guidelines given by Jason. And, I care about making sure that the historical integrity is withheld for the building. So if there are any stipulations such as the low E, I'll make sure that those windows have everything that's recommended. And I want it to be more appealing to the eye and then more efficient for my tenants as well.
Is it your intention to pursue historic tax credits?
I'm considering it.
So that would weigh into your decision as to what type of window system to utilize?
Yes.
The state has a minimum expense of $50,000, so I think the proposed project is just shy of that. But there's an option to bundle other projects and stretch it out over 2 years or so. And things for the property owner to consider.
Let me ask a general question. Can the windows still be low E and still meet the state's requirements under historic preservation?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
The issue becomes the reflective coating that constitutes the low E, and you really don't get a clear line of sight into the property if you have that low E coating on it. The difference between the low E and the non-low E from a thermal perspective is going to be minimal in terms of, as long as you have an insulated unit, you're going to be significantly improved over what's there. So it will allow people to actually see in to the business instead of seeing a reflection of themselves or their vehicle as they drive by.
Okay.
And if additional privacy is desired, you could put up an interior vinyl sticky thing or something that would not compromise the historic integrity.
Any other comments from the public? Any other discussion on the commission? So I think we need a motion to close the floor.
Close the floor.
Second.
And then we would be looking for a motion to take action on this.
I'd make a motion to approve as outlined by Wisconsin Historical Society with a baked finish and non-blowy coated glass.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I guess we're up for a vote.
Unanimously approved.
Okay. That would include the regular business for tonight's meeting. Now we're on to item E, informational. Staff level certificate of appropriateness applications.
We only had the one COA come in between our last meeting and now, which was a porch repair, just for the roof of the porch, so it's pictured here. That was a pretty simple application, so we recommended approval on that.
The porch had been a relatively new reconstruction, so there's no historic fabric here to deal with, but I believe the homeowner was running into an issue with this cedar-shaped roofing that was leaking, and we wanted to replace it with something, I think an asphalt shingle that looked a lot like this. You know, again, nothing historic involved to be lost, so.
Right.
Okay.
We need a receipt replacement file for this.
We need a motion for that?
Was it a contributing property?
Yes.
Did they utilize a shingle that was approved for use by the State Historical Society?
I believe so, but I really doubt that they pursued tax credits for this.
Yeah, no doubt, but
It's unfortunate. But, yeah, I think there's an architectural asphalt shingle that actually matches what,
it's on the rest of the line.
either matches or is an improvement on what's on the rest of the house, yes,
I will make a motion to accept this report and place on file.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is review of city raise and repair orders and demolitions.
We have none to report this month.
Okay. And next item on the agenda would be a staff update.
I have no staff update. Do you have anything?
No, is there any progress on revising the ordinance to include the first-class mail?
We are planning to bring that forward to our plan commission in the first meeting in January. We have to do a couple revisions in order to get our certified local government status updated. So the next available meeting is January 14th or something like that. So it'll be early January that we can sort out all of our text amendments that need to get done. And then from there, it gets approved by council. And then we can finish our application for that.
Okay, next item on the agenda is date of next meeting is Monday, January 14th, 2019. Any other discussion of the commission tonight? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're all done. Thank you, everybody.